Hey Bats, how are you? Welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you are returning. So, Trevor Henderson is one of my favorite horror artists and a really big inspiration for me and my monsters. I adore the monster designs. I maybe know Billy Styler, who talks a lot about Henderson's monsters, and I highly recommend, by the way, but I wanted to take a crack at talking about some of Henderson's monsters. And I wanted to talk about some of the less talked about ones by Henderson, so many people who follow him know all about Cartoon Cat and Siren Head. This video is to spotlight a few other scary ones, so let's get into it. Number 5. Gray. For number 5 on this list, we have Gray. That's the name Henderson gave on his Instagram, so... Actually, let me just ask, is everyone on Instagram around the age of 10? Because the comments are just really stupid. I can't stand them, but anyway. That aside, this monster has gigantic socketless eyes, and at first what I thought was a pointed bottom to the skull, but I think in reality the bottom of his skull is covered. While it's abnormally shaped, it's not a bird skull since bird skulls have 2 sockets for their nostrils. The way it's staring at you like that from the darkness is super creepy, so I figured it would be a really good choice for number 5. I speculate this is some sort of ghost child or alien, given the oddly shaped head. The eyes are way too big, after all. Ghosts can sometimes do that, though. And I don't know, I get more ghost vibes than alien vibes myself, even if the anatomy would be incorrect for a human, but again, distortion is in fact a ghost thing. But I also know that gray could refer to gray aliens, and still, my interpretation, since it's my video. Either way, they died in that house long ago, or they're following you. And not for a good reason, I reckon. This monster gives me somewhat of an off feeling, even if I, am how I am, and so they made it onto this list. Number 4. That Dream Again. Featureless things are always what gets me, to be honest, and before you ask, no, Slenderman doesn't scare me, though I do think his lore is interesting, so I will give you that. But for this monster, the featureless factor comes in with body distortion. There's a lack of arms on that thing. Sort of. I mean, kind of. The bottom part of the abdomen may actually be a tangle of arms, but either way, there's something going on with the arms on this thing. It reminds me of the armless man from the Silent Hill movie. The first time I saw that, I got chills down my spine. So something about monsters like that really gets me. Anyway, I should probably read Henderson's Instagram description. Recurring dream of a cramped hallway bleached with white light from no perceivable source. You know that the only way out of this space is past the surreal figure blocking the way forward. Every night the figure takes one ungainly step towards you, right before you wake up. We don't know that it will kill you upon reaching you, right? That's just speculation. I love the comment though. Well, maybe I start taking ungainly steps toward the figure, huh? Now that's how to make an Instagram comment. Anyway, we can only speculate what happens when that thing gets to you. Either those are arms and you'll be ripped to shreds by that thing, or it will fall on top of you, or horror magic will just happen and your mind will explode, you'll die in real life. Whatever that thing is, I don't want it in my dreams. I have a feeling it's bad news. Number 3. Not a Balloon. Number 3 on this list is Not a Balloon, called that by me because of the description, which would read as follows. When it drifted into her path, it was easy to think it was someone's old art project, a grotesque balloon. The way it bobbed in place, its skin was rippling and moving in a way that slowly filled her with dread. By the time it started after her, she was already turning to run. The distortion factor of this monster is particularly creepy to me, so it earns number 3 on this list. It reminds me somewhat of Bone Thieves from the Backrooms, to be honest. Obviously not exact, but it's a really cool comparison. I definitely speculate that this is a malicious entity, given it's chasing after someone in the description. I doubt the woman asked the monster why the long face to prompt it to do that. But in all seriousness, the sockets for eyes and pitch black mouth, which is way larger than it should be, is very off-putting. At least, the description implies it's quite slow. Number 2. Stalker. For number 2, we have Stalker. The description for this monster is simply, followed you home. Oh boy, this thing. When I first saw it, I was thoroughly spooked. Again, its face is distorted, but it's also the thought of this thing following me and knowing where I live. I mean, sure, I can defend myself just fine, but it's still creepy as f. It looks similar to a different monster created by Henderson, but not quite. This one on the list looks older. And the description just feels far more malicious in general. Compare the two. Caught in the act. Heard him knocking around there like he thought I wouldn't notice. That doesn't sound malicious, just sort of mischievous. Whereas following me home, I don't like that. The distorted face of an old man is just downright off-putting when put next to what feels like a description that makes this thing predatory. It's also a familiar area. The signs may be in French, but this is a Western piece of architecture I've seen similarly in my childhood. If this thing got into my home, I would completely shred it. Number 1. What we found. Here we go with number 1, the most frightening on our list for today, at least in my humble opinion. The description would read, what we found after she went missing. Short and simple, but tells a huge story nonetheless. I find this one the most scary because of, again, the facial distortion. Not only that, but the girl went missing, and you better bet this thing is the cause of it. I shouldn't automatically blame monsters, maybe it was trying to help. Who could know? Looks are deceptive. But regardless, this thing is scary. Actually, it could be her imaginary friend. I had a faceless imaginary friend from Diablo 1 who was faceless after all. Due to the pixelation and the low graphics, I played that game when I was about 8 to 10 years old. But correlation doesn't equal causation, my friends. However, one thing is for sure, this monster is very creepy to me. The lips look as though they're peeling off, to be honest. The mouth is very oddly shaped. It just, is kneeling in a frame, and it's just super off-putting. But I did withhold some information from you, until now. I know this monster is bad, because it's in the too late category on Henderson's tier list. It's the baddest of the bad, so my instincts were correct. You didn't even get a chance to run. Anyway, bats, there we have it. What's fun about Henderson's monsters, is how much we're allowed to speculate. I absolutely love the vague descriptions in his art, which allow for us to do that. However, he does have a tier list, and I'd love to sift through that for a video, so there is actually some context to how dangerous some monsters may be. I may do a few top 5 least and most dangerous monsters by Henderson, and some of the middle of the pack ones too. Man, I am having a hard time talking today, and I don't know why. Anyway, I love it when folks suggest content, so be sure to do so. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment to support a growing creator. I hope you liked this video, by the way, but I want to know in the comments, what monster was your favorite or most frightening choice on this list, or what would you talk about instead? What do you wish that I included in my list? Either way, have a nice night or day, wherever it is for you folks.